All right, so we've just gone over homework questions. We're going to look at our notes today. We're talking about central tendency and range. All right, so central tendency, I just want a little reminder. Central tendency is talking about the center of data. Central tendency is talking about the center of data. When you're doing your definitions on the test next Friday and the definitions on the quiz this Friday. All right. So just to reiterate, guys, that the quiz this Friday will have vocabulary on it. The quiz this Friday will have vocabulary. I'm going to work on getting a Quizlet together today to send out so you can start practicing that vocabulary for the quiz on Friday. Okay? On the review, you'll see practice for vocabulary on the review Wednesday. You'll see practice vocabulary on the review Thursday. And then you'll see that vocabulary again on Friday. Plus, I'll be sending Quizlets. Remember, guys, vocabulary on math tests. It can really, really help your grade. That's what we want. Or if we don't study and learn those definitions, it's something that can hurt our score a lot. We definitely want it to be helping us, not hurting us. Yes?
Do you know which ones are going to be on the...
All of them. All of them. So the ones from yesterday, statistics, statistical question, central tendency, mean. Is that all the data? I think that's the last one from yesterday. And then it'll also have mean, which is there twice, so that's really important. Median, mode, and range will be on there. Okay. Going back to central tendency. Central tendency is the center. Now, the center is different than the middle. So when we're talking about statistics, we're talking about somewhere or near the center. That doesn't mean like putting a dot in the middle of a circle and finding the center. Statistics is more of a general description, okay? We're going to talk about the range today as well. The range does not have anything to do with the center of our data, all right? So it's not grouped in central tendency. In fact, when we're talking about the center, we're talking about one way to find the center would be to find the average. For example, when you get your math grade, that's your average. If I say your average in math is an 85, does that mean that every grade you got was an 85? No, some of them were higher. Some of them were lower. 85 is just what was in the center of those grades. All right. Another way to find the center would be to line them up and actually pick what number is in the middle. To pick the very middle number. That would be also a way to find the center. And then the last way that we would find the center would be the mode. And that's just by talking about what grade did you make the most. Like, did you make mostly A's and you just had like one really bad test grade and that's why you had an 85? Okay? That would be a great time when the mode would be a better description of your math. Because, oh, Jackie's an A student. She just had one test that didn't go so great, so she ended up with a B, okay? So the average is what we report in grades. But in that case, I would probably describe Jackie using the mode because mostly she makes A's. Do y'all see the difference there? And sometimes we would want to use the mode to describe my center. All right? You'll notice right here these three are grouped together. So I'm going to turn my paper to the side, and I'm going to label these three. These are all of the measures of central tendency. All right. So whenever someone or whenever you're in a math class and they start talking about central tendency, they're either talking about the mean, the median, or the mode. Generally, when we talk about central tendency, we're including all three of them. Okay? All right, let's give a little bit more detail to this. So we know the mean is the average, but how would I calculate the mean? So we did this on last night's homework. How did I calculate the mean? Lily? Perfect. We added all the numbers. Add all the numbers. And then we divided by how many numbers there were. So I'm going to say, and divided by the amount of numbers. And we're going to practice that again today. All right. The median is the middle number. Now here's the issue. When I am given data, it's usually not organized. It's just a bunch of random numbers. Well, guys, if I pick the middle number of random numbers, then my middle number is random, and it doesn't actually tell me anything. So what do you think I would need to do before I pick the median, before I pick the number in the middle? What would I need to do with my data? Parker?
List them from least to greatest.
Yeah, we want to list them out. All right, you can go least to greatest. If you wanted to, you could go greatest to least. It's probably easier to go small to big, though. All right. So for the median, we definitely want to write your orders, your numbers. Write your orders. Write your numbers in order from, and then we're going to choose the middle. So put the numbers in order. And I agree with Parker. I think least to greatest would be the easiest. I'm just going to say put them in order. If you wanted to go greatest to least, you could. All right, so we're going to put the numbers in order. And then we can choose the middle number. So we're going to put them in order from least to greatest, and then we're going to choose the middle number. Now sometimes, and I think we saw this last Thursday, if you think back to that shoe project we did, when you put them in order, did you just have one number in the middle? Now sometimes if I line them up, I'm going to have two numbers in the middle. So then what we have to do is we have to pick what's in the middle of those two numbers. So for example, if I ended up with the numbers 11 and 13 in the middle, what's in between 11 and 13? 12. So that would be an easy number to find, right? What if I had the numbers 24 and 25? What would be in the middle of 24 and 25? Lizzie? 24 and a half, or 24.5. Okay? But what if I had the numbers 53 and 78? Is that as easy to pick what's in the middle? No. So if that happens, and we're going to look at some examples in a minute, but if I had two numbers like 53 and 78, I could add those two together. So 53 plus 78 would give me 131, okay? And then I could take that and I could divide that by 2. All right? So if you'll take, someone do that with a calculator for me too, 53 plus 78 and then divide it by 2. Nathan, what does it give me? 65.5. Is 65.5 in between 53 and 78? So if you end up with two numbers, guys, we're just going to add them. And then we're going to divide by 2 because there were two numbers. We're really just finding the average of those two middle numbers. All right? And we're going to look at some examples of this in our notes today. For the mode, it says it's there the most. Does that mean it's the biggest? No. It means it's there more than all the others. All right? What I want you to know about the mode, other than it's there the most, is that you could have no mode. You can have no mode. If every number is only there once, then you would have no mode. And you would write that down. You would just put no mode. Okay? Or I could have more than one number that repeats. Okay? And I could have more than one mode. I would say the mode from last night's homework assignment was a 15. Right? I've had some people that made 17s and 17.5s. They've made perfect scores. But the mode, the one that occurred the most, was a 15 out of the 17.5. Okay? All right, the range. Now, the range is not talking about the center anymore. When I talk about the range of something, so if I wanted to know what's the weather going to range, what's the range of the weather going to be today? What would that be? What would I be wanting to know?
Like, when is it going to be sunny, when is it going to be rainy?
Huh? Say it.
When is it going to be sunny, when is it going to be rainy?
Not quite. Lizzie?
Like the high and low?
The highs and the lows. All right? So if I said, so like in the morning when I'm getting ready, you know, Alexa, y'all, I love Alexa. I don't know how I didn't have her in my life. And I fought it. I didn't want my husband to get one of those things. But we have one now, and I love it because every morning I get up and I'm like, Alexa, what is the weather like today? And she says, the high is, I think today the high was 68, and the low is 54. So Alexa's telling me the range. I know the lowest amount of the weather, the lowest it's going to get is 54, which is what it was this morning. And the highest it's going to get is 68, so it's going to be nice and warm this afternoon, even though it's going to be rainy. All right, there's your weather report for today. Another place that you would hear them talk about the range would be when we're talking about like prices. Like if I told you the price ranges from $3 to $8. That would mean the lowest you would pay would be $3. The highest you would pay would be $8. Okay, maybe that means that $8 is the name brand and $3 is the store brand. We go for store brands at our house. Okay, so do y'all see the difference there? All right. Now here's the thing about the range when we talk about math. All right, I don't want to know your biggest number and your smallest number. I want to know how far apart they are. So the range tells us how far apart the data is. So I don't want to know that the high is 68 and that the low is 54. I want to know how far apart is 68 and 54. What could I do to figure out how far apart they are? Lily? I could subtract them. So what I would love, well, I like what Alexa tells me, but if Alexa was doing statistics and if she was going to tell me the range, she would say, the range for today is 12 degrees, which means that my temperature is going to go from the low to the high. The difference would be 12 degrees. So it's going to be spread out 12 degrees. All right, and the way that we would find our range is we would take our largest number, and like Lily said, I would subtract my smallest number. All right, if the temperature is going to differ by 12 degrees, that means I'm probably going to go from wanting to wear a jacket of some sort to not needing a jacket because it's going to change a lot. All right, do y'all see the difference there? All right, and y'all know in Alabama we get like crazy ranges when it comes to temperature. All right, during certain times of the year. Sometimes it'll be like 30 degrees in the morning, 70 degrees in the afternoon. Okay, so that would be an example of a really large range because my temperature would be changing by like 40 degrees. Okay, all right, let's talk about some examples. So we're going to find the mean, the median, the mode, and the range. How am I going to know which number is which? How would I know which number is the range and which number is the median? Okay?
You could write it out.
You could write it out. What do you mean by write it out?
Like put mode,
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to write out the word. We're going to label each set of work that we do. So I'm going to start with the mean, and I'm going to label that I am doing the mean. Okay? Guys, technically, if you wanted to work this in a different order, you could. Which one's going to make it easier on the person grading your paper? Working it in the order of the problem. And if the person grading your paper, if it's easier for them, they're more likely going to grade it correctly. If you're skipping all over the place, you're going to make it very difficult for them to be able to give you an accurate grade. Does that make sense? You're going to make it difficult for me to give you an accurate grade. All right. So, for the mean, first thing we need to do, what does it tell me to do for the mean, Jackie? Add all the numbers. So let's do that first. Add up my numbers. What do we get when we add those numbers up? Parker. 80. All right, after I add them up, 80 is not my mean. I know 80 is not the mean because is 80 in the middle anywhere? No, 80 is not going to be in the center. That's a bad number. So what do I still need to do to 80 to find the center? Jackie? Divided by the amount of numbers. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. So I'm going to put divided by 5. And what is that going to give me, Lauren? 16. Now if I look, is 16, does that look like it's in the middle of these numbers?
Yes.
If I'm going from 4 to 20, yeah. 16 looks like it's towards the center. All right. Why would 16 be closer to like the 19s and 17s than 4? Any ideas? Charlie?
Like, 4 is like, you need like 16 more to get to 20. But like, versus 16, only need 4 more. So it's like way closer than 4 would.
Yeah, so the majority of my numbers are higher, aren't they? So that would be like the example where I was saying, like, Jackie makes all A's on all of her tests. And then she had 1 grade that brought her down to a 85, I think was the example that I was using. This would be an example of that. Most of the grades are higher. Is that 1 4 dropping them that much? No, it made the average of 16. Okay? Let's look at the median. Is it a good idea to check and see if your answer makes sense, guys? Yeah, it's how you're going to catch any mistakes. So for the median, what do I need to do first? What do I need to do for the median? Jackson?
Write the numbers in order.
Write the numbers in order. Right now, guys, if I looked in the middle, it's 20. But this is random. These are random numbers, or they're in a random order. So I'm going to put them in order first. I'm going to start with 4, because like Parker said, going from least to greatest is probably easiest. So 4, then I have 17, and I like to mark them as I write them so I don't leave any out. 19, and then 20 and 20. All right, this list is pretty short, so it's easy to find the middle. If I did have a longer list, what I like to do is mark off 1 on both ends. Mark off 1 on both ends. And where did I end up? With 19 in the center. Okay. All right, my mode. What's the mode going to be for number 1, Kate?
Yes.
Okay. What is it going to be? So it's not going to be yes or no. It's going to be an actual number. What is it? Lex?
20.
Why? It appears the most. Does it matter that 20 is the biggest? No, but 20 is there more than all the other numbers. All right, and then for my range, how am I going to find the range? Addison? So what do we do to do that? So underneath that doesn't. Yeah, so what's my largest number? 20 minus my smallest number, which is? 4. So we're going to do 20 minus 4, and that gives me 16. All right, questions about that? All right, for number 2, you'll notice it gives me this chart. In this chart, are there any numbers with those bars? No. They're over to the side. But guys, because I'm going to need those numbers for the mean, I'm going to need them for the median, for the mode, and for the range, I'm going to go ahead and write my numbers on top of the bars so that they're easier for me to use. So for comedy, what number would go with comedy? Jeremiah? 4. Peyton, what number would go with action?
5.
5, because that one's in the middle of 4 and 6. Okay, and then Tyler, what would go with romance? What number is that bar line going up to? 6. And Neely, what about drama? 1. So that's in the middle of 0 and 2, 1. And then for sci-fi, Lily Alcorn? 4. All right. So now is it going to be easier to do all my math? Now that I have the numbers, that'll make things easier to do math with. All right, so for my mean, let's add them up. What do I get when I add them up? Peyton? 20. And what am I dividing by? 5, because there are 5 numbers. And 20 divided by 5, we all know that is? 4. Okay. For the median. Median. What am I going to do first, Noah? Put them in order. Can you do that for me real quick?
1, 3, 4, 4 again,
1, 4, 4, 5, 6. If I mark them off till the end, till I get to the center, what is in the center? 4. So my median is 4. All right. My mode. What is the mode here? Tate? 4. It's there more than the others. And for the range, how am I going to find the range? Kai?
6 minus 1.
6 minus 1, which gives me
5.
5. So that's my biggest minus my smallest. All right, last example in the notes. So for my notes, we're going to start with the mean. All right, so for the mean, we need to add them up. What do I get when I add them up on number 3? Okay.
40.
40. And what am I dividing by?
8.
8. And 40 divided by 8 gives me?
5.
All right, we're going to look at the median next. All right, so for the median, Turner, list them in order for me. 3, and I'm going to mark it out as you do it. 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 8. Okay, how many did I say there were? 8? Y'all see where I've written that in my work? There's 8 numbers. I'm just going to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that an easy way to check and make sure I've got them all? All right, I would definitely recommend doing that on your homework and on your test. Okay, so let's look at the center. So 3 and 8, 4 and 6, 4 and 6. When I go to mark these out, I only have 2 left. Okay, so a lot of us know what's in the middle of this, but because on your homework, you're going to need to be able to calculate it, I want us to write out that work. So even if you know what's in the middle, I want you to write this work down, okay? So if I have 2 numbers, what am I going to do with those 2 numbers? I'm going to add those 2 numbers. So 4 plus 5 is 9. Okay. Then I'm going to take my 9, and what am I going to do next? Split it in half. We're going to divide it by 2, and 9 divided by 2 gives me 4.5. Is that in the middle of 4 and 5? Yes. Please make sure you've written that down because you're going to have to do that on your homework. Okay. The last thing we need is the mode and the range. So for my mode, what is my mode going to be, Kate?
4.
4. What about 6? Is 6 a mode?
No, because 4 is more.
4 is there more. Even though 6 is there twice, 4 is there more times. So it's there the most. If you did have 2 numbers as the mode, you would just write like 4 and 6. In this case, we're just going to put 4 though. Okay? For my range, Lily Alcorn, how am I going to find my range?
You're gonna put 8 first, and then you're gonna subtract 7.
8. 8 minus 3, and that gives me 5. Make sure you circle your answers. All right, guys, your homework, you'll notice, is in your textbook. But if you flip it over, I've made a copy of that textbook page and put it on here. All right? Guys, it says to work on a separate sheet of paper. You can write on here, like marking out your numbers and stuff like that, but I want all of your work and all of your answers on your own paper. Does that make sense? You can write on this, but your answers are not going on here, and your work is not going on here. All right? Your work and your answers will be on your own piece of paper. All right? I do have a video that I'm going to send out going over the first 3. So if you get home and you're having trouble and you want to make sure you're setting these up correctly, I'll send a video out. It's going to be going over the first 3 just so you can check and make sure you're setting them up correctly. I would definitely recommend checking your answers on those.